I didn't know betrayal could wear a smile, so gentle it felt like love. That thought came to me later, long after the cake tastings and flower samples, long after the night I sat alone on the bathroom floor with my wedding dress still hanging on the door like a quiet accusation. But if I'm honest, the feeling started before I had words for it, some small tightening in my chest every time my best friend reached for my hand and said, "Trust me, I've got everything handled." At the time, I believed her. The morning it all truly began, I was standing in my kitchen, barefoot on cold tile, listening to the kettle scream itself hoarse. The house smelled like burnt toast and lavender cleaner, the kind I used when I was nervous. I remember staring at the thin crack in the wall above the sink, the one that had been there since before I moved in, thinking how strange it was that something broken could be so easy to ignore when you wanted a future badly enough. I was getting married in 4 months. My fiancé, Daniel, was still asleep upstairs. He always slept heavy, mouth slightly open, one arm thrown across the empty side of the bed where I'd slipped out early. We'd been together for 3 years, long enough to share routines, long enough to argue about dishes and money, long enough to believe we knew each other's shadows. And my best friend, Lila, she was already awake. She always was. My phone buzzed on the counter, and I smiled before I even looked. "Lila, morning, bride-to-be ring, I found the perfect centerpiece idea. You're going to cry." That was Lila. Enthusiastic, attentive, full of exclamation points and certainty. She had appointed herself my wedding planner the moment Daniel proposed, dropping everything, her job, her weekends, sometimes even her own life, to make sure my day would be perfect. "You're lucky," my mother had said. "Most women don't have a friend like that." And I believed that too. Lila and I had met in college, bonded over cheap coffee, and shared heartbreaks. She'd held my hair when I was sick, sat with me through my father's funeral, laughed with me until we cried on nights when the world felt too heavy. When Daniel came into my life, she was there too, watching, approving, teasing me about how I finally found a man who didn't flinch at my silences. She told me once, half joking, "If you don't marry him, I might." We laughed. Back then, laughter covered a lot. Our normal life, before everything cracked open, was simple in the best way. Daniel worked long hours in logistics, came home tired but affectionate. He kissed my forehead instead of my lips when he was stressed, cooked pasta when he wanted to apologize. On Sundays, we grocery shopped together, arguing gently over brands, holding hands in the produce aisle like we were still new. Lila fit into our rhythm easily. Too easily, maybe. She had a spare key, knew which mugs Daniel preferred, which jokes made him laugh the hardest. She'd sit at our kitchen table with her laptop, wedding spreadsheets open, humming softly while I folded laundry or answered emails for work. "Trust me," she'd say, tapping the screen with her manicured nail. "You don't want to stress about this. Just show up and be beautiful." I let her. That's something I've had to sit with, the ways I stepped back, the ways I handed pieces of my life to someone else because it felt like relief. After a long day, it was easier to say yes than to question. Easier to believe that love, once chosen, stayed put. There were small moments, tiny enough to dismiss, that flickered at the edge of my awareness. Like the way Daniel's phone would buzz late at night, and he'd tilt the screen away without thinking. Or how Lila would sometimes stop mid-sentence when he walked into the room, then laugh it off, saying she forgot what she was talking about. The way they shared looks, quick, unreadable when I mentioned dates or decisions I didn't remember making. "Wedding brain," Lila would say kindly. "It's normal." And I wanted normal. I wanted to be the woman counting down days instead of counting doubts. One evening, about a month into planning, we sat around the dining table with takeout boxes and wine glasses. Rain tapped softly against the windows, the kind of night that makes you feel safe inside your own life. Lila was animated, describing a venue detail, her hands moving as she spoke. Daniel watched her with a small smile, nodding along. "Doesn't it sound perfect?" she asked, turning to me. I hesitated. Just a second too long. "I thought we said we wanted something simpler," I said carefully. Lila blinked, then laughed. "Did we?" Oh, maybe I mixed that up with something else. She reached across the table, squeezed my hand. Either way, I promise it'll feel like you. Daniel cleared his throat. I think it's great, he said quickly. Whatever Lila thinks works. The words landed wrong, heavy in my chest. Whatever Lila thinks works. I told myself I was being sensitive. Later that night, as I brushed my teeth, I watched Daniel in the mirror. He stood behind me, scrolling on his phone, his face lit by the screen. For a moment, his expression softened into something I didn't recognize. Tender, private. When he noticed me watching, he locked the phone and smiled. You okay? Just tired, I said. He kissed my cheek. Get some rest. Big day tomorrow. He didn't say what big day. I assumed he meant work, or planning, or life moving forward the way it always had. I didn't know then that every detail of my wedding was being shaped by hands that were already pulling my life apart. That the woman helping me choose flowers was memorizing my absence. That the man promising forever had already started leaving. If I had known, I might have screamed, or run, or stopped everything before it began. But that's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't announce itself. It whispers. It waits. It smiles across the table and asks if you want red or white wine. And you pour another glass, believing the night is still yours.